Hello, guys. Oh, it's that time of the year again. The first time I'm actually doing this. It's March Madness, baby. And obviously, of course, this is your boy Chris Reynolds, and I'm gonna do my March Madness brackets for both the men's and women's. I actually have these printed out, but I'm not actually gonna be doing these on ESPN. Um, as obviously they're good with this kind of stuff, so I'm ready, and I'm pretty much ready to get this thing going. So I have the women's and the men's at the ready. So I'm gonna start with the women's first because it's Women's History Month. Can't leave all the ladies out, and then we'll do the men's one. So let's begin with the women's bracket, shall we? So first up, I'm gonna actually we'll do the first four picks, by the way, as we go on. First up in the Greenville 1 region, we have South Carolina and Norfolk State. Looking at these guys, they don't have, obviously it looks like South Carolina, I feel like they're going to continue with their undefeated streak, so I'm going to say South Carolina. USF and Marquette, I might go with USF, but with the way that Marquette's been going, I feel like Marquette might pull off the 9/8 upset, so I think Marquette will do. Oklahoma and Portland, I'm going to go with Oklahoma. UCLA and Sacramento State, I'm going to go with UCLA, not much of a brainer, to be honest. Creighton and the winner of the Illinois-Mississippi State first four game. I think I'm going to pull an upset. I'm going to say Mississippi State is going to pull off the dub on Illinois in the first four, and upset Creighton. So I'm going to say Mississippi State is moving on. So even though it says Illinois/Mississippi State, I say Mississippi State. Notre Dame and Southern Utah. I'm going to go with Notre Dame. Not much of a surprising pick if you ask me. Arizona and West Virginia. I'm going to go with Arizona. And Maryland and Holy Cross. I'm going to go with Maryland. Actually, screw Arizona. I'm going to go with an upset and pick West Virginia. Better yet. Alright, moving on to the Greenville 2 region. We have Indiana versus the winner of... Let me look at my thing here because I don't want to go through my stuff here. So it's Tennessee Tech and Montana, or Monmouth, excuse me. So Tennessee Tech and why do I say Montana? Tennessee Tech and Monmouth in the first four. I say Monmouth is gonna win in that matchup, but I think the Lady Hoosiers, are still gonna pull it off. Dad, the stuff is ready. Oven's ready. Alright, whatever. Oklahoma State and Miami. I'm going to say the Sooners, the Cowgirls are going to pull it off. Sorry. I was thinking of, the regular Oklahoma. My bad. Washington State and Florida Gulf Coast. I'm going to go with Washington State. Villanova and Cleveland State. Villanova is pretty much a good hot shot. I feel like they're going to be good. Michigan and UNLV. I would go with the Lady Wolverines, but I'm going to pull with an 11/6 upset and say UNLV is going over Michigan. Sorry, Michigan fans. LSU and Hawaii, no doubt in my mind I'm going with LSU. NC State and Princeton, I'm going to go with NC State. They're pretty good. And Utah and Gardner-Webb, I'm going to go with Utah. In the Seattle 3 region, Virginia Tech and Chattanooga, I'm going to go with Virginia Tech, no doubt. USC and South Dakota State. I'm actually going to go with another 9/8 upset and say South Dakota State's going to move on. Iowa State and Toledo. I'm going to go with Iowa State. And Tennessee and St. Louis. I'm going to go with over Tennessee, the Lady Volunteers. North Carolina against the winner of another first four game between Purdue and St. John's. Another one of actually two inter 7 first four games in the women's. I think Purdue might win over St. John's, but probably not over North Carolina. So I'm going to say that, to say the least. So there's that. Because UNC, they're 21-10 right now, so you can't really go wrong against them. Ohio State and James Madison. I'm going to go with Ohio State. Baylor and Alabama. Now, I would pick the Big 12 champions, Baylor, but I'm going to go with the 10/7 upset and pick the Crimson Tide, the Lady Crimson Tide, Alabama, number 10/7. And UConn and Vermont going for UConn. In the Seattle 4 region, Stanford against the winner of Southern and Sacred Heart. I'm going to go with Stanford. I mean, I say Sacred Heart is... Actually, Southern might pull it off over Sacred Heart, but Stanford might be the easier pick. Ole Miss and Gonzaga. I'm going to go with... I would go with Ole Miss, but I think the Lady Zags are ready for the tournament. Ready for the big dance, if you may. And a 9-8 upset over the Lady Rebels. Louisville and Drake. I'm going to go with Louisville. Texas and East Carolina. I'm going to go with Texas. Did you already put them in the...
Yeah, they're in the oven.
Oh, okay. Colorado and Middle Tennessee State. I'm going to go with Colorado. Duke and Iona. I'm going to go with Duke. Florida State and Georgia. I'm going to go with the Lady Bulldogs. Georgia over Florida State, 10-7. Another 10-7 upset. And Iowa and Southeast Louisiana. Iowa, the Hawkeyes, they're going to the round of 32. Alright, so that's the first round done. Time for the second round. So back to Greenville, number 1. Back to square one, if you may. Greenville, region number 1. South Carolina and Marquette. I'm going to go with South Carolina. Oklahoma and UCLA. I'm actually going to go with I would go with the Lady Sooners, but I think, looking at the records here, it seems like, I don't know if Oklahoma did play less games than UCLA or not, but either way, I think UCLA or Oklahoma might have a better win percentage. I mean, what's the for the 2? Oh, no. Never mind. Oklahoma, I think Oklahoma might pull the upset over UCLA. Screw that. Illinois, Mississippi State, I should say, and Notre Dame. I mean, Mississippi State, they do have a good Cinderella run, but I think it might end here with Notre Dame. And West Virginia and Maryland, I'm sorry, but West Virginia fans, but it's the end of the line for Maryland, or West Virginia, excuse me. Greenville, region number 2, Indiana and Oklahoma State. I'm going to go with Indiana. Washington State and Villanova. Washington State looks pretty good, but... yeah, Villanova does not look too likely to win it, so I think Washington State's going to pull it off. Another 5-4 upset. UNLV against LSU, I think... Oh, shoot, bro! UNLV, hold the phone. I think they've got the advantage over LSU. I'm seeing them going to I'm seeing UNLV going to the Sweet 16. Oh, shoot, okay. So the Cinderella run for UNLV continues. And NC State and Utah, I say Utah. Utah is going on. In Seattle 3, Virginia Tech and South Dakota State. I'm going to go with Virginia Tech. Iowa State and Tennessee, I'm going to go with the Lady Volunteers this time around. North Carolina and Ohio State, I'm going to go with Ohio State. And Alabama and UConn, I'm sorry, Alabama fans, but I think the Cinderella run ends here. UConn's moving on. In the Seattle 4 region, Stanford and Gonzaga, I'm going to go with the I don't know what the nickname is, I forgot, but Stanford's moving on anywho. Louisville and Texas, looking at the stats, I mean, Texas is over the top 25. I mean, looking at this, they're 1, 2, 3. Looks like they're 3, 4. Oh, they outnumber them in stats. So Texas is moving on. Yep. Sorry, Cardinals, but nice try. Colorado and Duke. I'm gonna go with a 6-3 upset and pick Colorado for once. So, and we have Georgia and Iowa. Georgia. Come on. Nope, Iowa's moving on. Screw that. Iowa is going on to the Sweet 16. Alright, now we have the Sweet 16. Greenville, region number 1. South Carolina and Oklahoma. I'm going to go with the number 1 seed, South Carolina. And going on to the Elite 8. Notre Dame and Maryland. I mean, I could see Notre Dame moving on, but I mean, they're tied in conference. I could see that. But it looks like Maryland has the advantage, so I think Maryland's going to be moving on. Greenville, region number 2, Indiana and Washington State. I'm going to go with Indiana on this one. And UNLV and Utah, oh no. I'm so sorry, UNLV fans, but it looks like it's the end of the line for you. I mean, you are 18-0 in the conference. That's good and all. But, oh, man, they have a better record and a better conference record. But against these guys, points per game versus top 25s, points per game. That's going to be a bit of embarrassment. I still think Utah, although they do have a better record, I don't think records care. Nah, heck with it. I'm going with Utah. We'll have another somebody going to the round. Somebody that's not in the top 2 going into the round of 8 at some point. Like, for example, Virginia Tech and Tennessee. I mean, look at this. Tennessee, even though they might not have much of a record, I mean, they have opponents' points per game. They're close. I mean, what are the chances? They could pull it off somehow. So I think Tennessee might be our first one going into the Elite 8, not a top 2 seed. Ohio State and UConn, I'm going to go with the Lady Huskies in UConn. Stanford and Texas in the Seattle 4 region, I'm going to say Stanford. And Colorado and Iowa, I'm sorry, Colorado fans, but it seems like the Hawkeyes, the Lady Hawkeyes, are going to go on. Moving on to the Elite 8, we have the Greenville 1 regional final. South Carolina and Maryland moving on to the Final 4. I think South Carolina is going to pull it off, no doubt. In the Greenville 2 regional final, Indiana and Utah. I think Utah might have the advantage here. I mean, they outnumber them in stats. So I think Utah might be going to the Final 4, in my opinion. Utah going to the Final 4. South Carolina and Utah in the Final 4. Let's see who joins them. In the Seattle 3 region, Tennessee and UConn. Oh, no. I'm looking at their stats, and it looks like, it looks like it might be a quick thing here. I mean, 1, and then 2, and then I think... now, I've already seen a Utah move in. I think Tennessee will... I think UConn will probably be a good team. Good two-seeded team. Actually, you know what? It'll be best to have a 4-seed team in the Final 4. I'll take Tennessee. And Stanford and UConn, I'm going to say Iowa. Because this seems like a special pick, considering... Yeah, so I think the number 1 overall team, South Carolina, they'll keep their undefeated streak alive in the Final 4, heading into the Final 4. All right, Final 4 time. Who's going into the national championship in Dallas? South Carolina and Iowa. We have number 1 South Carolina, number 2 Iowa, number 2 Utah, number 4 Tennessee. Who's going into the national championship? Let's find out. South Carolina and Iowa. I am going to pick the Gamecocks, the Lady Gamecocks of South Carolina going into the national championship game. And Utah and Tennessee, who's going to be joining them? I think Utah might have the advantage here, so I think they'll be going into the national championship game. And this is it, boys, the national championship game, South Carolina and Utah. And it looks like, looking at their stats, I think, in my opinion, South Carolina might end the season with a perfect record. Nonetheless, so I think the Lady Gamecocks of South Carolina, they're going to pull the thing again. I'm predicting South Carolina, your 2023, I'm predicting South Carolina, your 2023 women's basketball tournament champions. Of course, tiebreaker, the final score, 63-56 in my opinion. That's my pick. Alright, and let's take a look now at the men's. It's all the moment we're waiting for. It's time. We get the men's going. Let me check how long? 14 minutes, good lord. Alabama and Texas A&M Corpus Christi. The winner of Texas A&M Corpus Christi and Southeast Missouri State. I'm going to say Alabama, no doubt, because they're the number 1 seed. Maryland and West Virginia. I'm going to say Maryland on this one. San Diego State and Charleston. I'm going to go with San Diego State on this one. Virginia and Furman. I would go for Virginia, but I see people going much for the upset with Furman. And then again, if you can't beat them, join them. So Furman, you're moving on. Creighton and NC State. I'm going to go with Creighton. Baylor and UC Santa Barbara. I'm going to go with Baylor, no doubt. Missouri and Utah State. I think there might be good games, but It looks like Utah State might have the upper hand, so I think Utah State might pull off the 10-7 upset over Missouri. And Arizona and Princeton, I'm going to go with Arizona. That's the South Regional, by the way. Midwest region, Houston and Northern Kentucky. I'm going to go with Houston. Iowa and Auburn. I'm going to go with Auburn. Just a quick 9-8 upset. Why not? Miami and Drake. I'm going to go with Miami because they seem more plausible. Indiana and Kent State. I'm going to say Indiana, just to be fair, you know. Iowa State against the winner of the first four matchup between Mississippi State and Pittsburgh. I say Iowa State is going to go on. I mean, Mississippi State, they'll probably... By the way, I think Texas A&M Corpus Christi might win in the first one, but lose to Alabama. For this one, I think Mississippi State might beat Pittsburgh, but Iowa State, but the Cyclones might pull them out. So, sorry, but your reign ends here real quick. Xavier and Kennesaw State. I'm going to go with Xavier. And Texas A&M and Penn State. Now, I would pick Texas A&M to be reasonable, but I'm quite the Nittany Lions fan, so I'm gonna go with a 10-7 upset in Penn State going to the second round. How about that? And Texas and Colgate, the fighting as what Super Celtic 24, aka Alex, likes to call them, the fighting toothpastes. I'm gonna say Texas. The Longhorns are gonna get it done. Take a look at the West region, Kansas and Howard. We'll go with Kansas. Arkansas and Illinois. I'm going to go with Arkansas. St. Mary's and VCU. I'm going to go with St. Mary's. UConn and Iona. I'm going to go with UConn. TCU and the winner of Arizona State versus Nevada. I'm going to say Nevada is going to win over Arizona State. But, you know what? I think Nevada might win over TCU. I think, you know what, better yet, I'm going to say Nevada is going to win over Arizona State in the first four and then upset TCU. So how about that? Nevada going into the second round. Gonzaga and Grand Canyon. Haven't seen Grand Canyon in a while, but the Zags, they're just too strong. Unfortunately, Jalen Suggs isn't with them anymore. He's been drafted to the NBA, so Gonzaga's going on. But they still are showing strong, so Gonzaga's moving on. Northwestern and Boise State. I'm gonna go with an upset here and pick Boise State. Not that I'm a Northwestern hater. I just see faith in Boise State. And UCLA and UNC Asheville. I'm gonna go with UCLA. Finally, moving on to the East region, Purdue against the winner of Texas Southern and Fairleigh Dickinson. I'm gonna say Fairleigh Dickinson is gonna win the first four matchup, but lose to Purdue because they seem pretty good. Then again, Purdue did lose. I mean, they just barely gained off the Big 12 championship win over Penn State. Surprised they actually pulled it off. Memphis, the American champions against Florida Atlantic. I'm going to say Memphis. Duke and Oral Roberts. I mean, I see Duke. I do have heart in Duke with all of my heart. But I think Oral Roberts might repeat history with their Cinderella run. I'm going to say a 12-5 upset. Oral Roberts is going to move on. Tennessee and Louisiana. I'm going to go with Tennessee. Kentucky and Providence. I'm going with Kentucky. Kansas State and Montana State. I'm going to go with Kansas State. Michigan and USC. I'm actually going to go with an upset here and pick USC over Michigan State at 10-7 upset. And then I'm going to pick Marquette over Vermont for number 2/15. All right, now we're into the second round. How about that? Round of 32. Alabama moving back to the South region. Alabama and Maryland. I'm going to go with Alabama. San Diego State and Furman. I like to see San Diego State in the Sweet 16. No doubt. Creighton and Baylor. I'm actually going to go with an upset here. A 6/3 upset and pick Creighton over Baylor. That would be pretty cool if you ask me. And Utah State and Arizona. I think Arizona. I think the Cinderella run might end here for Utah State. In the Midwest region, we have Houston and Auburn. I'm going to say Houston. Miami and Indiana. I'm going to say Miami. Actually, no, I'm going to say Indiana. Because they seem more plausible. Iowa State and Xavier. I'm going to go with Xavier. And Penn State and Texas. These two are really good teams. Not going to lie. But I feel like, I mean, as much as I'd like to see Texas in the Sweet 16, you know it's March Madness, and you know what it's got to be. So I'm going to say my Nittany Lions are going to pull off the upset 10-2 against Texas. Penn State's going on into the Sweet 16. In the West region, Kansas and Arkansas. I'm going to go with Kansas, the Jayhawks. St. Mary's and UConn. I'm going to go with the Huskies of UConn. Gonzaga and Arizona and Nevada. I'm going to say Gonzaga. I mean, they had a good Cinderella run right there, but not going to be enough over Gonzaga. And then, of course, Boise State and UCLA, UCLA will be moving on. I sense a rematch in the last year's or 2021 Final Four in the Elite Eight. You guys remember that, where Jalen Suggs pulled off a half-court shot at the buzzer for Gonzaga? Yeah, those were good times. Finally, anyways, back in the East region, Purdue and Memphis. I'm going to go with Purdue. Oral Roberts and Tennessee. I would pick Tennessee, but I think the Cinderella run might continue for Oral Roberts. I say Oral Roberts is going to pull the 12-4 upset up in Tennessee in Oral Roberts. Kentucky and Kansas State. I'm going to say Kansas State. I'm sorry, Kentucky fans, especially you, Alex, if you're watching this. But I think this might be the end of the line for Kentucky. And finally, USC and Marquette. I'm going to say Marquette. All right, now we are in the Sweet 16. We got Alabama and San Diego State. So Alabama and San Diego State are semis in the South. I say Alabama's going to move on, no doubt. And then Creighton and Arizona. I'm going to actually I'm going to say Arizona. In the Midwest region, Houston and Indiana. I'm going to say Houston, no doubt. Oh, nope, I didn't mean to do that. Yeah, Houston, anyway. Houston, moving on. Why is that at Madison Square Garden? That's weird. That's Midwest. That's weird. Anywho, Xavier and Penn State. I'm totally tempted to go for Penn State. But at least I kind of want to see Penn State get at least into the Sweet 16, so I think this might be the end of the line for the Nittany Lions. I'm going to go with Xavier going into the Elite Eight. I'm sorry, Nittany Lions, but after the Sweet 16, it might be the end of the road for you. Purdue and Oral Roberts. I'm going to say the same thing as I did for Penn State. The end of the Cinderella run is there for Oral Roberts. Purdue is going to the Elite Eight. Kansas State and Marquette. I would go with Marquette, but I'm going to go with a slight 3-2 upset and pick Kansas State. Pretty cool. And finally, by the way, that was the East region, my bad. And the West region, Kansas and UConn. I'm going to say Kansas. I'm going to say another 3-2 upset, Gonzaga over UCLA. That would be a pretty cool matchup, not going to lie. All right, now we are down to our Elite Eight in the South Regional Final, Alabama and Arizona. I'm going to say the top seed, Alabama. They're going to the Final Four. Something that normally would happen in the, in college football, but seems like they're doing well in basketball now, too. In the Midwest region, Houston and Xavier. I'm going to go with a 3-1 upset, Xavier going to the Final Four. In the West Regional Final, we got Kansas and Gonzaga. I don't want Kansas to go back-to-back, but I don't want them to either because, it's March Madness. So I'm going to pick a 3-1 upset, give Gonzaga another chance. I'm going to say Gonzaga is going to pull it off over Kansas. And finally, we have the East Regional Final, Purdue and Kansas State. I'm going to go with a 1 seed and pick Purdue. So there's our Final Four right there. We got Alabama. We got the Alabama Crimson Tide, the Purdue Boilermakers, the Xavier Musketeers, and the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Who is going to win in the national championship? Let's find out. Alabama and Purdue. I'm going to say the Crimson Tide are going to pull it off over Purdue and go into the national championship for the first time in probably a long, long time. And Xavier and Gonzaga, I can't resist. I got to give the Bulldogs another chance. I'm saying Gonzaga is going to go into the national championship. And speaking of the national championship, here it is. Alabama and Gonzaga, my final two in this tournament in Houston, Texas. It's going to be in Houston, Texas, over at NRG Stadium in Houston, Texas. I mean, Alabama. Oh my gosh, this is going to be a tough call. Looking at the stats. Say, look at the stats. They look reasonable. I mean, Alabama, they look pretty good, but I mean, I think we're gonna give credit where credit is due. If Alabama is good at basketball, or if Alabama is good at football, then they can prove to the country that they're. If Alabama's good at football, then they can prove to the country that they can be good at basketball too. So that's why I'm saying Alabama is gonna be your 2023 NCAA men's basketball champions. And of course, for the tiebreaker, excuse me, I'm gonna say, and it's gonna be going to overtime because I just know it's gonna be going. It's gonna be a close game. So I'd say 105-99 be the final score. Whew, man, those were some good 2 picks, and that's gonna do it for me. So as you just now noticed, South Carolina are women's champions, and Alabama are men's champions. So probably see an SEC sweep in both ends of the spectrum. So that's gonna do it for me here. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll link these 2 brackets in the description so you can fill out your own as well and join along with me. So you can join along with me and fill out your own as well. And that about does it for me. I'll see you guys next time. This is Chris's EAS and NASCAR Emporium signing out. Peace!